Well, thanks for joining us yet again for another installment of the Morse, Manning & Martin Tech Law and Business Report. This is Daniel Sinaway, partner in the intellectual property practice at Morse Manning. I am joined today by Jon Lawrence, Vice President of Product Development at Oversight Systems. Jon, thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Appreciate the time, Daniel.
So why don't you start? Tell us a little bit about Oversight, the business, the technology. Give us kind of a background on the company.
Oversight's, we've been in business now probably 15 or 20 years. Really started out in, with a focus of helping the market, our industry partners, understand risk as it's associated with various types of employee-initiated spend. So think about things like travel and expenses. Think about things like purchasing activity, procurement of supplies, use of fleet cards, use of purchasing cards. Those types of activities that go on inside of an organization, there inherently can be some misuse, some waste, or potentially some fraud. And so what we've done is developed a set of AI-based techniques to analyze essentially what are these transactions. Again, whether it's an expense report transaction for a restaurant or a receipt for something I just purchased on Amazon, right? Those are transactions that represent potential risk to an organization if the funds aren't spent in the way you'd expect to against policy. So some of it's policy enforcement and some of it's actually looking at cash leakage and cash controls. So we use that AI technology to identify the risk, present that risk back to auditors and operations team members, and then they're able to use that software through a workflow and really kind of characterize where the greatest area of risk is. So I think it's fair to say, you've got a lot of risk in any organization, but some of it is more important than others for a variety of different reasons. So we work with our customers to help identify what's most important to them. But I think we go a step further, and I think this is where I think we add even more value. It's not just saying, you have a problem. One of the best ways that for years now, the best ways to address risk is to engage employees, right? So somebody might have made a mistake. We often talk about the fact that there's about 70% of your population are fine, right? And about 25% of your population are good people, but they just maybe aren't following the rules. Maybe they didn't understand. A bulk of your true sort of problem employees are really in that top 5%. So what we're trying to do is measure and analyze everything, but raise to the top what should be raised to the top. And what we found is for that 25% that might be doing something not quite as you'd expect, engaging with them changes their behavior. They recognize the mistake and they're less likely to do it again. So we take risk, turn it into an opportunity to prevent future risk. And so it's our tool allows us to do that. We track the engagements with the individual employees, and it's really worked well. We've got, now you can imagine we're covering every transaction and with probably 90% less labor, right, to do it than you would if you try to do the same thing otherwise. So really a bit of a unique kind of segment of the industry, but one that we're very, very focused on helping customers across all industries, as I said, manage the risk in their organizations.
Yeah, it's interesting. And given this age of online shopping and so many purchases being made online, and transactions happening online, obviously, I'm sure it's critical and a very beneficial service to have that oversight. No pun intended on that.
We'll take it.
Thinking about, when you're in, let's say, a competitive situation, right, where you're trying to land a new customer and you're differentiating the oversight solution from others, what do you see are the key differentiators for oversight versus other competitors that you might face in the market?
Yeah, good question. Maybe I'll answer in two parts. In reality, when you take a step back and kind of think about what I just described as our focus on really helping audit and operations teams, we're enabling that audit team now to look, as I said, right, instead of doing one of every 10 transaction type of audit, we're looking at 100% of them. So sometimes many times we're going into sales opportunities and discussions with our customers, and we're competing against that manual process. So some of it is just an evaluation to say, am I ready to essentially transform my organization to a fully digital way of auditing? And so part of that may be, call it a form of competition is current practice. There are certainly a few other players that to a degree play in our space. And I would say we differentiate ourselves in at least two different ways in thinking about them. As I said earlier, right, we use artificial intelligence and have used artificial intelligence for a long time to help identify the risk and looking at the data. And, you think about the umbrella of artificial intelligence, there's different forms of that, right? There's computer vision, there's natural language processing, right? So, but machine learning is certainly a term that a lot of people are adapting to. And so when you look at some of the competitors that are out there, a lot of them will build their entire solution on machine learning, which is, conceptually sounds great, except that when you look at things like audit, you don't want to have to wait a while to train the model. You don't want necessarily somebody who's approving expense reports for, say, inappropriate venues, that to be the learned behavior, right? So we use essentially a rules-based engine to set ourselves up for our customers so we understand their policies. We then continue to apply machine learning to what they do from that point forward. So whereas some of our competitors will tend to just try to latch on and leverage a straight machine learning model, we still go down to a degree and work with our customers to identify what they need, build that into a rules engine, and then watch the behavior around that rules engine, learn from that. And so the combination, we often say a 1+1 kind of gets you 3 when it comes to that. So that's the first thing I'd say differentiates us a little bit. I think the second thing is we are an organization that is incredibly focused on our customers. We want to be, in essence, risk management consultants for our customers. And so we don't necessarily approach it as just a product that you're out to sell and install, but we believe in the long-term relationships with our customers. We believe in truly understanding, some organizations have a higher risk in travel and some have a higher risk in procurement, right? Or in payables, right? And invoicing. So we really, really take a step to I think, consult at every level of the organization, from sales to services into product management. So I think that's probably a couple areas where we differentiate ourselves against, the true competitors in the space.
Yeah. Well, that makes a lot of sense. And kind of getting back to something you said earlier, talking about the different types of spend and transactions that your technology would look at. One of those things you mentioned being travel, which, obviously as we sit here in May of 2020, travel has dropped off quite a bit for all businesses. And, so as we sit here in the middle of this COVID-19 pandemic, and most people are working remotely, people watching the video at home can see that you and I are both sitting at our home offices here.
Right.
How generally has Oversight's business changed given the COVID pandemic? How have you kind of morphed? What are you doing to address those issues both internally for the business and for customers?
I think to a degree, I credit our leadership and our team in a big way. But, in the weeks preceding kind of that real big downfall, the one you were indicating around some travel activity, our leadership came to us and a few others in the company and said, hey, let's really take a look at what's going on with our customers. Let's understand what they're starting to see, because we're fortunate, we can look at our application and identify what's going on, right? The obvious was the shift in, airline spend and transportation, maybe being number 1 and number 3. In the first 6 weeks of the year, now are virtually not even existent in the top 10. Right. So the question is, where is that spend going? So that we got ourselves a little bit of a head start, started to see that, and that gave us some insight into how we could potentially help our customers. And what we did, analyze the data, and we said, the shift in travel maybe now focused on, as we were just talking about, home office expenses, right? Do you have any employees that are buying a 65-inch curved monitor for their home office, or a Bose soundbar that's dual purposed as a speakerphone, right? Right. Tongue in cheek to a degree, but these are the kinds of things, there's still spending going on. In reality, you almost have more employees, going in there. I saw a research study last week that said that half of the entire U.S. workforce is now working from home. That means those that are, there are the other half are people that can't, right? There are construction workers and places like that. So if you are at any spot where you can work from home, you are. And so the growth in home office activity is big. Many companies are trying to support their employees with stipends, weekly reimbursements on costs. And so we looked at that, saw that shift, and said, hey, how can we help you still look at risk, right? COVID-19 did not eliminate risk from our businesses. What it did was tell us maybe where we need to shift it. And so I've been incredibly proud of our team to identify it. And we're really just pivoting. We're a company called 120 people, and it's just a phenomenal, incredibly talented and smart group of people. And when you ask them for some help, let's see how we can help our customers, they're just so excited to pivot around. In fact, just before this call, I was sending out a note with some feedback from one of our customers looking at purchasing activity. And one of the things we captured, no surprise, was an increase in the price of hand sanitizer that they were paying, right? But we buy a lot of it, it shows up. And our team, our customers team was excited that we can help identify things like that. Our team was excited that we finally connected in helping our customers see that. So we're all impacted by this. I don't know to what degree all of us know the financial impact of our businesses is going to be. But what we can manage and control is what we see, how we react, how we embrace, and over the long term, I think our goal is in many ways for our customers to look back on us, right? Good relationships are often built in some of the toughest times. And I think all of us would agree, let's hope these are the toughest times we ever experience in our lifetime. And if we can stay close to what our needs are, what our customers' needs are, we see it as a win-win, over the long term. And I think we'll all be better for it, provided, we keep the right attitude and certainly keep the right controls on our own business, as well as helping our customers have the right controls on theirs.
Well, John, very well said, sir. Good to talk to you. Good to hear about Oversight Systems, and thanks so much for your time.
Absolutely. Appreciate it, Daniel.